Hi there. So in this video, we will finish up all of the code for the apple pie project. If you haven't already, make sure you watch the first two videos and then you'll be all caught up. Let's go to Xcode, and where we left off, we had created the initial code to set up the game. We have a game.swift struct, which has a word and incorrect moves remaining variables. And then in our view controller, when the view did load is called, it calls the new round. New round method then sets the word, the next word available, and it sets the current game state by initializing it with the new word as well as the incorrect moves allowed. And then we update the UI, and the UI so far has updated the score label text to wins and losses and the tree image view. Let's go ahead and run this and see where we're at. So here I have apple pie selected and I've got my iPad simulator. Go ahead and run that. And notice then that we have the image view is set. So it starts with the 7 apples on the tree, and then our score label is updated to our wins and losses. All right, let's go ahead and fix this next label here. Go back to Xcode and press stop. Before we get to that word label for the last label that we haven't updated yet, we want to identify what letters have been selected. So when we press the button, currently we call this button pressed method and it disables the button. What we need to do is extract the title of that button in order to know which letter was selected. So one way we can do that is to identify the letters, the string of the title for the button, and then from there we get the character. So what we will do is within the button pressed method, we're going to say let letter string equal sender dot title, and we want the title 4, and this returns a control state. Each button has a control state, whether it's enabled, disabled, things like that, and we want to know what it is for the normal. And if I just go ahead and type dot, it's going to give me the values available to this, and so we want normal. So what this does is it returns a string from this letter, from the title of the button. From there, we need to get the character and we want to set it to a lowercase value so that we can reference this character easily in code. So we'll create another variable, let letter equal, and we're going to use the character class and say letter string. I'm going to mouse down and select letter string dot lowercase. So what this does is it takes the string and now I'm creating a lowercase value. So this is referencing the optional, and I realize that what needs to happen is at the end of the title value I need to do the exclamation point, which gives us an unwrapped optional. So now I've got this value here. Okay. We can ignore that because we're going to get to this letter was never used. We're going to get that here in a second. So now that we have the letter, then we can determine whether it's part of the word that is currently hidden. We don't know what the word is and we're guessing that word. So in order to do that, we need to check what letters that they have tried and guessed at. Let's go to our game object, and we want to add another variable in order to track how many letters they've already guessed. So if I go back to my game struct, and here I want to create a new var guessed letters, and it's an array of characters. Character type is what I mean, right? So now I'll have an array of character objects. Next, within this, we need to add a method that will update the guessed letters and update the incorrect moves remaining. So in order to do that, we're doing what is called a mutating function And so we're going to say mutating func player guessed, and that's going to take a letter which is of character type. And from there, we then add this to our guessed letters array. We'll say dot append, and it's going to be the letter. Then we check if the word contains the letter. If it does, then we're good. If it doesn't, then we want to reduce the number of moves remaining. So here we would say if, and we're going to say if the word does not contain, so we're going to say if not, which is the exclamation point, if word dot characters dot contains, whoops, let me spell contains, right, letter, then we're going to say incorrect moves remaining, I'm just pressing tab, minus equals 1. So here what we're doing is we are using incorrect moves remaining. We're using the minus equals to reduce this by 1. Now we're getting a little warning, says characters is deprecated. Please use string or substring directly. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just following along with the book, but we can look at that at some other time. Okay, so let's review what we've done. We've added a guessed letters array, which is an array of character objects, and then we've added a helper method that we can call to say player has guessed letter, and we pass in the letter that they guessed. Then we update the guessed letters array, and then we check if the word contains that letter, and if the word does not contain the letter, then we decrement or reduce the incorrect moves remaining by 1. So that means we're losing moves if we've guessed incorrectly. Okay, let's go back to our view controller and let's update our methods here. Within our button pressed method, we will now pass this letter in and verify, we're going to update the game state. So we will say current game dot player guessed, and we pass in the letter, which is letter. Then we need to update the UI, so we're going to say update UI. Notice we also have another argument problem here. Because we added a variable to the game state struct, this is now throwing an error, so we need to pass this in. We need to say for guessed letters, we're going to pass in an empty array, and that satisfies that. All right, let's run this and see what's happening. So we'll go ahead and make a guess, and I'm going to guess the letter C, and I must be right. And then I guess the letter D. Uh-oh, that was wrong. Notice the image changed. Let's go to A. Ooh, looks like there's an A. How about P? Nope. Uh-oh. Q. Uh-oh. All right. Ooh, there's an R. So at this point, we can tell that the game is running, and it is updating based on whether I've guessed a correct letter or not. Okay, let's go back to project and press stop. So at this point, we want to show when they've guessed a correct letter. And we will indicate that by updating the word in that label that hasn't been changed yet. We're going to show an underscore for letters they haven't guessed, and we're going to show the correct letter for ones they have guessed correctly. And so to do that, we're going to refer to what we're going to call a formatted word variable, which is we're just allowing it to show the underscore or the filled in letter if based on how they've guessed. So to do that, let's go to our game struct. We're going to create a computed property, meaning that as the value changes, it's going to update the variable. So we're going to create within here give ourselves a little space. We're going to say var formatted word, and it's a string. And from here we're going to say var guest word equals, and we'll just initialize with an empty string. And then we're going to say for letter in word dot characters, we're going to loop through. We're going to say if guest letters dot contains letter, then we'll say guest word plus equals, and then we pass in the string, and we use a interpolation, so backslash open parenthesis letter, and then here we say else, oops, guest word plus equals the underscore. Then we need to return this string. So we say return guest word. Okay, let's take a look at that. You can ignore the warnings. We're not going to worry about that. So what we have is this variable, as it gets updated, we check if the letter is in the word.characters array. And if it is, then we're gonna say guest, if guest letters dot contains letter, we're gonna add it. So the guest word plus equals this correct letter. Otherwise, we're gonna add a underscore. Now, in order to use that in our UI, let's go back to our view controller. And in the update UI, we now want to update the correct word label. So for this, we're going to go, let's just go back and we're going to say correct word label dot text equals game dot formatted word. And of course, there's this little error, and I'm looking at the text, so I'm following along, and you're probably doing the same. You're looking at the book and you're saying, hey, I'll just do whatever they wrote. Well, unfortunately, we're running into some bugs, and this is one of them. The text clearly says correct word label dot text equals game dot formatted word. Well, game is not an accurate, that's wrong. It should be current game dot formatted word. All right, so, but you were smart enough, you knew that, right? Let's go ahead and run this and see how we're doing. Okay, let's go ahead and select a letter. And ooh, I got a letter. B. How about H? Nope. Uh-oh, we're losing. How about K? Nope. D. Nope. How about E? Ooh, look at that. I think I know what the word is. Okay, so see how now as we select letters, it's updating the word. Very good. Good job. Let's go back and click stop. Now you noticed when we were showing the underscores, they were all connected and it just looked like one solid line. So you didn't have an idea very well of how to tell how many letters were missing. So in order to fix that, there's a couple of ways to do that. One way is to add an extra space after each time you add an underscore character, or you can follow along in the book, and it refers to using a method called join, which adds letters together, joins the array, and then it adds a character in between. So we'll go ahead and do what they're recommending. So in our update UI, let's go ahead and add the following. We're going to say var letters. We're going to create an array of strings. And from here, we're going to say for letter in current game dot formatted word dot characters, letters dot append, and we're going to say string letter. So now we have an array of strings. Next, we're going to say let word with spacing equal letters dot joined. So joined is this method that we're going to call, and the separator, whoops, that's not what I meant. So within here where the separator is going to be a space. So notice how we have a space within a string. Now we're going to reference, instead of the current game, we're going to say word with spacing. So what we've done is we've created an array, a string array, and now we've gone through the formatted word and we're appending, we're basically going from an array of characters to an array of strings, and then we're using letters.joined and adding a space. So let's run that and see how that looks. So we'll go ahead and select a letter. Ooh, notice now it shows up and we have all of the spaces. Very nice. Okay. Go ahead and stop. So at this point, we have the UI updating, but we need to know when the game is over. We need to know whether we have won by guessing all the correct letters, or we need to know if we've run out of moves. So to do that, let's add a new method that will update the game state. So here in our button press, we are currently updating the UI. Instead of doing that directly, let's replace this, and we're going to call a method called update game state. From here, let's go ahead and add our function update game state. So the next question is, how do we know when it's over? Well, we can check by determining if there's any moves remaining, or if the word matches the correct word. So we can tell whether the word that we've displayed has all of the letters, and we can identify that we've won. When we've run out of moves, then we increment the total losses, and if we've won, then we increment the total wins. So in order to do that, what we want to do is, in our updated game state, we're going to check for a few variables. So first we're going to say if current game dot incorrect moves remaining, if it equals, and we're going to use two equals, if it equals 0, then total losses plus equals 1. Else, we're going to say else if, I don't need the parentheses, else if current game dot word equals current game dot formatted word, then total wins plus equals 1. Else we will update the UI. Let's try that, see how it works. Uh-oh. I really like spelling wins like wind. I don't know why. Okay. Let's try that again. Okay. So we have our word with all of spaces. Let's try to figure this out. Nope. Wait. See? Oh, there it is. I think I know what it is. Let's just get this done before we die. E N A, is it A? And then an R. Okay, now nothing happens. Wait, Buccaneer. Uh-oh, there's a bug. Something's going wrong. So what happens is notice in our code, when we check if currentGame.word equals currentGame.formattedWord, we increment total wins, but we haven't updated the UI. Plus, it's not resetting the word or resetting everything else, so we need to fix that. There is a property on a variable that is called an observer. When the variable changes, we can run code to do some behavior. So when this value changes, then we want it to call some code. In order to do that, we need to update our total wins and total losses variables and do the following. So we're going to go ahead and after it says equals 0, then we're going to add some curly braces and we're going to call, it's called did set. And the did set is a keyword, and that refers to when the variable changes, when it gets set, then we're going to call a new method. Well, the method we want to call is new round. So let's do the same for total losses. And we say did set, and we call new round. Okay, let's see what that does. Go ahead and let's run this again. And let's see. Oh, we got the word B. Let's guess some wrong ones. Guess some right ones. U, A, and R. Okay. Now, it's reset, except it didn't reset everything, right? We're almost there. You guys are doing great. Thanks for sticking with me. You're almost there. This is it. Let's go back and let's stop. There are a couple of things we need to do to finish this. One, we need to re-enable the buttons when we have won or lost. And when we run out of words, we need to make sure that the app doesn't crash. Because right now, if we kept going and we got to the last word and we did new round, it would automatically just pick the next word and it would crash because there would be none left. So to fix that, in the new round method, we need to check to see if list of words has anything remaining, and then we need to act accordingly. So we're going to say if, and we're going to say if list of words is not empty, then we're going to do the following. So in order to do that, remember we use the exclamation point as the not or opposite. So if we say if list of words dot is empty, which is a Boolean, then we're going to call these two methods. And let me wrap this here. So what we're doing is we're saying if list of words is not empty, then we're going to call this. In addition to checking whether, I'm just going to clean this up a little bit, whether the values are there, we need to enable, we're going to call a method called enable letter buttons. And in order to do that, let's add another method. And we're going to say, let me scroll so we can see this, we're going to say func enable letter buttons, and we're going to pass in a Boolean called enable, so it's of type bool, and for that we're going to loop through all of the buttons in our outlet collection. Remember, we created an outlet collection, so we would say for button in letter buttons, button dot is enabled equals, and then we want it to set it to whatever the value is of this method that we pass in, which is enable. So what we're doing is when we call enable letter buttons, we pass in a Boolean, which is either true or false, saying enable them all or don't enable them, and then we loop through the letter buttons outlet collection and we set that to that value. So here in our new round, we call enable letter buttons and we pass in true. If the list of words is empty, guess what we do? We say else enable letter buttons, and we say false. Okay, let's run this and see how we're doing. All right, so we go through and we have our list of words, and let's get this one wrong. I'm just gonna click the wrong letters and I'm running out of space. Oh no. Oh, it reset and it says I've lost. Very good, see? So I've lost and I got that wrong. All right, let's guess what this one is. And, oh wait, what is it? I don't remember. Wait. No, what is it? Someone's yelling at me. What's the word? Oh, I remember now. Swift. Perfect. And it updated wins and losses. Now, when we get to the end of all the words, it's going to disable all and the game will be over. Okay, that brings us to the end of this project. We covered a lot. We covered a lot of material. Now, if you look in the book, there are some challenges that encourage you to try new things to enhance the game. You could change the message at the end to indicate that they won or the game is over. You can do a lot of things to enhance the UI to make this a little more interactive. Well, I hope that was helpful. Thanks again for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe and check out my other videos. Thanks.